Hello and welcome to the Cricketers Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Tim Williams. We're here to take a look at the huge week in the world of cricket with the World Test Championship final starting up in a week's time in the Indian Premier League final. It's on our doorstep. It's tomorrow night. Here to talk through it with me, as always, Cricket Australia commentator Max Bryden. Maxie, how are you, mate?
G'day, Timo. Look, Test cricket's a week away. How do you think I am, mate? I'm fired up.
It's Christmas for you, mate, between these and the next couple of events coming up.
It's amazing, and that you get to balance two of my greatest loves, which is first and foremost cricket, number one, with a lot of rugby league as well happening at the same time. So I'm looking forward to just getting into a deeply vegetative state in the next week and a bit. Just really letting it wash over me, mate. It's going to be good.
A long week coming up for us Australians as well, so it gets even better. Also with us today, the man with the best stats in sport, and to celebrate the World Test Championship final, he's actually worn his whites on tonight's show as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Long sleeve whites. We're heading off to England, so it's probably a little bit cold. Not too sure what the temperature's doing over there, but I'm glad you noticed. The only one to wear whites here. You guys got your ODI kits on by the looks of it, so that's pretty awful.
There's a bit of Uzi Khawaja about those long sleeve, long sleeve jumper.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw Maxie bloody kiss his finger saying cricket number one, but I don't see him out here. Where's your cricket ball too that you usually handle there?
I did go looking for it in the studio beforehand. It wasn't here. I'll have to chat to the producer.
Didn't pop up with the show. Launch it across the room.
Maddie's using it over there.
Guys, big show today, previewing the World Test Championship final. We won't be here a day out as we normally record on a Tuesday for the World Test Championship final. We're getting it out nice and early, giving it time to breathe. So we're going to be looking at that one, deep diving into the match and the opposition, the South Africans, who we haven't touched on too much so far this in recent weeks or over the few months leading into it. It's been very Australian-based, but the South Africans, they've also added one of our enemies, Stuart Broad, to their coaching ranks as well. Glenn Maxwell, he has retired from, not whiteball cricket, 50-over cricket, I should say. How will he be remembered among the Aussie greats? And the IPL final, of course, Virat, RCB versus Punters, Punjab. Looking at the impact of that game and the result on the legacies of these two players. Firstly, though, boys, let's get stuck into the World Test Championship final. And as I mentioned, we're going to focus a little bit on the opposition, the players to look out for in the South African lineup, how they look like they will line up for this clash at Lords. I'll start with you, Maxie. What are we looking at? What are the 11 or even 12? I don't know how deep you've gone for the South Africans for this one.
Yeah, look, they've named a squad and we can get it down to basically a predicted 11. They haven't played a test match since January, but as far as what the pundits are saying out there, opening the batting will be Aidan Markram and Ryan Rickleton. Number 3, Tony DeZorzi, the captain, Temba Bavuma at number 4. Stubbs and Varane in the middle order. Wyan Mulder at 7. Marco Jansen, who I think the Aussies are going to really enjoy seeing how he goes about his game at number 8. Maharaj, Rabada and Ngidi the quick. So really quality lineup. Particularly their bowlers and their quick bowlers, they absolutely frighten the life out of me. They're like the closest thing to the Aussie bowling attack that there probably is out there in the world. I'd say that they've got a lot of star power and match-winning ability in their batters without necessarily maybe having the consistency or the body of work in first-class red ball cricket, but they've got a lot of match winners.
A lot of match winners, mate, and there'll be a lot of familiar names there to general cricket fans. And, you know, someone like you mentioned, Marco Jansen, the tall bit of timber who just setting the world alight at the moment. You mentioned their pace bowling attack that's fearsome. It always is with the South Africans. But, mate, there'll be a few names there that we probably haven't heard of as much, or the general cricket follower, I should say. Who are the players to watch out for in this lineup?
Yeah, look, I'll start with a guy you should know, and that is Kagiso Rabada. Now, people think the name Rabada, they think about this enormous South African quick bowler. But probably what people don't have a respect for is that he is like a 3-format superstar. And I was actually blown away when I was looking at his test record this morning just to see that not only has he taken 327 wickets by the age of 30, which is sort of about whereabouts you would expect for a guy who started so young, but his average to take all those wickets is just 22, which is elite, right?
Jeez.
And like I know if you're listening to a cricket podcast right now, you're an absolute like nuffy like me. But in comparison to one of the greats who often is used as a benchmark for bowlers in Glenn McGrath, his bowling average was 21.64, and Rabada's is just behind him, right? So he is absolutely world class. The South Africans don't play as much Test cricket as us and some other nations, which is why he doesn't have those numbers of wickets next to 500. But there's no reason why he can't do that by the end of his career. He is a freak.
Yeah, absolute superstar. We've obviously seen him time and time again on Australian soil doing plenty of damage. Mate, Marco Jansen, the tall timber we mentioned there. What are your thoughts and what are your expectations from him, who is meant to be playing in the IPL final for RCB, but has gone back obviously to prepare for the World Test Championship, or not back, to London, I should say.
Yeah, I love him, and I think that that's because I can really see eye to eye with the fella, and by that I mean he's 6'9". And that's,
what are you, mate? 6'8"?
6'7". So
6'7".
yeah, but there's a club. Once you get over 6'6", there's a club. Actually, I shouldn't have told you about
group
the club.
chat probably too. WhatsApp.
Everyone just forget you heard about the club there for a second, please. But look, 25 years old, he's young, and what I really like about him is that he's a bit like Bambi in the sense that he came on, he was all arms, all legs, but he's really starting to get used to his body, and you're starting to see that in, again, how he's being used now in global tournaments like the IPL, but specifically when we're talking about Test cricket, 73 wickets already in his career at an average of 21, which is really good. The thing that is underrated about him is his batting, though. He's got probably an ability better than what we see from Cummins and Stark. He's already got 3 Test 50s in a pretty short career. I'm not going to go out there and say he's going to be a genuine all-rounder who's going to bat in the top 6 or anything like that in Test cricket, but there's no reason why he's not going to be a nightmare to teams across his career, because he's got a lot of skill and ability for a big, tall man.
Yeah, very, very exciting prospect, as you said, Maxie, with both bat and ball. So a frightening prospect for the Australians. Anyone else you want to touch on before we move on to Rando and his stats around them?
Yeah, look, the other guy that sort of broke this list in between people whose names you should know and people you'll know by the end of this game. Markram opening bat, who you should know, is only 7 Test tons, and his average isn't great, but again, just match-wing ability and does it in all 3 formats. Ngidi, tall, rapid, he'll partner Rabada in this attack, and he's got a career Test average again of 23, which is elite. The other guy to talk about is Ryan Rickleton now. Listeners of this show would have heard that name because he's done some stuff in the last probably 6 to 9 months, which have got him in the team of the week.
Oh, and he's been a staple in the World Team of the Week.
He has been. And one of those innings came in their last Test match, which he scored 259 of the best against Pakistan. They've got a number of guys who are coming into their batting stocks who are maturing later in their careers and sort of coming into this team as pretty well established guys in white ball formats, very dangerous players who on their day can absolutely win them a Test match. So Ryan Rickleton, he's a keeper batter. I don't think he would keep in this team, but he's certainly a guy to watch.
Yeah. And, mate, what about of the ones that perhaps, we don't know of, ones to watch out for?
Yeah, look, Rickleton was the one.
Rickleton's the man?
Yeah, really that. He's just because he's really sort of burst onto the scene more recently. Also don't mind their number 3, Tony DeZorzi. He's had a late start to Test cricket himself. He scored a ton as well. And I think that if there's any weakness in this South African lineup, it's probably going to be their batting attack against our bowlers. But they've got the bowling attack to really patch that up. And I know, Reno, we were talking in the, let's call it the white room today in honour of Test cricket before the show, because you had some really good stats around one of their spin bowlers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great segue as well. Beautifully done there. I think the big watch for Australia, full stop, in this Test match is the bowling attack that South Africa have. Marco Jansen, as you mentioned, he's been absolutely killing it. He announced himself in that Sri Lanka series. I remember I poured myself a glass of red wine in the first innings of that Sri Lankan innings, and I hadn't finished the glass by the time he took 7 for 13. He just absolutely ripped through them. He backed that up with 6 for 52 against Pakistan in Centurion as well. He's doing really great. Then you got that left arm quick with the right arm quick of Rabada. He's taken a wicket he hasn't taken a wicket in 2 of the 20 innings he's bowled this World Test Series. He's taken 3 fifers as well. He's taken more wickets in England than any other away nation he has bowled in too, with 30. So he's also looking pretty dangerous. But as you mentioned, a bit of spin, a bit of slow left arm orthodox here from Maharaj. 40 wickets at 20.57 in this World Test Championship window. He's taken 2+ wickets in each innings this World Test Championship as well. 2024, he had a career low average of 19.2, taking a wicket every 41 balls. So if you're not watching out for Jansen Rabada, he's going to get you when you're napping. So plenty of attack there. And even to mention, those 3 bowlers, they are all below the next Australian best average. So you've got Josh Hazlewood, he's up on top. Then you've got these three bowlers coming in through, and then Nathan Lyons down at the bottom of the pack with 24 as the next Australian bowler with the best average in World Test Championship this season, I guess you can call it. So definitely three bowlers you want to look out for. Batsman-wise, as you mentioned, Ryan Rickleton, he is just blown onto the scene. The thing is, his big scores have come at home. Can he do the same thing away? His record says no. His away test record, average of 16 and 6 innings away from South Africa. So that will be the big test. Can he do it on a much bigger field? And we know the South African field's naturally a bit smaller. Can he do it on a big field there? And I'm in awe of Bavuma. He basically came in as captain at the start of this World Test Championship series, and it hasn't deterred him at all. He averaged 34 before becoming captain. His average after becoming captain is 58, and he's hit 3 of his 4 tons in Test cricket with the basically the armband around him. So some great knocks there. He had his best season last calendar year, averaging 55, and as you mentioned, he hit a ton against Pakistan in his last innings. So he's looking real red hot there too. So 5 players that we should be very concerned about, but it's just that bowling attack. If our batting is able to stand that test, because we know for us as Aussies, we've got a great bowling attack that's pulled us out of a bit of trouble against the Indians, but we just need to keep our guard up here against those 3.
Yeah, I mean, everything you hear from what you boys have both just rattled off there, it's just like, and probably not unfamiliar for the Australians at the best of times, but it's 2 just absolutely elite bowling attacks at the peak of their powers going up against each other, and 2 potentially sort of fragile batting lineups that have their weaknesses. And you add in as well, bowlers can go around the world and they can make the conditions suit when they're at this level. They get the Dukes ball over there, they get it swinging, they'll be doing plenty of damage. But the batsmen, out of regular conditions, no one's on home soil in this one. The Australians probably played a bit more cricket over in English conditions than the South Africans, but nonetheless, it looks like it's going to shape up as, all right, who can pull out a 50 or a ton out of their lineup and let the bowlers do the damage, because it could be potentially low scoring. I think it's been quite a hot summer early on over in the UK, so maybe the decks are a little bit dry and a little bit more solid, but I'll believe it when I see it in terms of that one. Boys, the English. They've added Stuart Broad to their coaching staff. A very interesting play, trying to get into the heads of the Australians, and as an Australian, I hate it, because I think it's a smart move from the South Africans. Stuart Broad, a bloke who knows this exact, basically, Australian batting lineup as good as any bowler in the world, naturally knows the conditions more than anyone in the world. Maxi said, I think it's a good play from the South Africans. Yeah,
look, it's a smart play, because, as we said on the show last week, like, this is one game for all the marbles, right? Like, at the end of this game, there's going to be a collection of marbles, and the winner will take all of them home. And by marbles, I mean the mace. The mace. And there's no one who knows English conditions quite like Stuart Broad. I think the thing here is that it's sort of going to get blown up a little bit because of who he is, particularly who he is to Australians, which I agree is absolutely genius. But this happens all the time, right? Like, when you go over to a country now, particularly for tours of any length of time, trying to find people who are locals who can help you acclimatise to conditions is such an advantage. And it's what the Aussies did really expertly in that Cricket World Cup over in India in 2023. They got a really good read on the clay at the ground for the final, and went against what expectations were at the toss. They got the most favourable conditions to bat, and they won. So let's hope that Broad doesn't have the same impact on these South Africans, because he's going to be teaching them a lot of tricks of the trade. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Aussies had someone in their corner as well to give them a bit of info. Yeah, well, we can only hope, mate. And I'm sure that if the South Africans do get the win in this one, he'll be claiming a moral victory for the English over Australia. Oh, look, I think that'll be happening anyway. Yeah, we'll do it in regards. We'll find a way for it to be moral victory for the English. Onto the Australian side, Maxim, we have spoken about them a bit in recent weeks leading into it, but for any new listeners to the Cricketers Playbook podcast this week, we'll go through our predicted lineup for the side, and it worked out very well, because why did you listen to a bunch of us dribblers about our predicted lineup? But Ricky Ponting put his out, and it was the same as what we had. There are a few contentious positions, but when we can read out Punter's lineup, it gives us a heap more credibility than what our predicted lineup would be. So, mate, Usman Khawaja and Marnus Labuschagne opening the batting. Cam Green at 3, Steve Smith at 4, Chavi Head at 5, Bo Webster at 6, Alex Carey at 7,
Paddy Cummins, Mitch Starc, Nathan Lyon and Josh Hazlewood, the attack. The main omissions there, obviously Sammy Constas at the top of the order, Marnus Labuschagne makes his way into that. Then Josh Hazlewood getting that final spot over Scotty Boland. Hazlewood obviously knows the conditions very well, and he's been in supreme form in the IPL as well. Maxi, are you pretty confident that's how it'll run out? There's still the question mark around Constas and whether he opens up, but hasn't played a lot of cricket lately. You feel like they'll go with the tried and tested Marnus, albeit he's a bit out of form.
Yeah, and look, I think Ponting's not really in the business of guessing. His great mate from Tasmania, George Bailey's the selector there. So when there's smoke, there's fire. When Punter comes out and talks about what he thinks the Australian team's going to do. And regardless, if that's what Ricky wants, I wouldn't be shocked if he was telling George what to either, such as his influence.
You wouldn't question Punter either. You're like, yes, sir.
Yeah, well, he knows what he's doing, right? That's why Punjab are doing so well in the IPL, which we'll get to next.
We will.
Another good segue.
Yeah.
But no, look, I think it's a good team. It's it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in what the long-term future of Marnus is, because if you're willing to shift the role for the guy who's meant to be your number 3, arguably the most important batter in this entire lineup, doesn't say a lot about, I guess, where the selectors think he's at the moment. We've gone into detail about that statistically. We've gone into detail about that in terms of how he's looked in his little county stint. But I wouldn't be shocked if they ran out like this. I also wouldn't be shocked if when they go to the Windies after this series, if Marnus isn't in the team and Sam Constas is parachuted straight back into open, just with a view towards the guy who's probably going to be doing that job for the next 10 to 15. So
yeah, I'm all for it, mate. I think you're right. The West Indies squad, the team for it could look very, very different, the 11 that comes out in the first test there. But I think as far as this one goes, Marnus said, been there, done it, knows the conditions. Sammy Constas has had some good smaller stints, but he hasn't had any knocks that have said, you have to pick me, you have to be over there in new conditions for him. So, look, hopefully Marnus can pull one out and extend his career and his time in the Australian team. Rando, anything to add to this one?
I was just going to say, I think that's probably the 11 that will get named, but I'm still not sure about Labuschagne's opening. He hasn't done it ever in the Test arena, and why would he do it at Lords in a Test final where he only got one shot at it? I wouldn't be surprised if Travis Head maybe comes up the order. He's opened the batting on 8 occasions. When he bats at 2, he averages 64 with 2 50s in 5 innings. So I thought maybe Travis Head, if worse, Steve Smith. I know that was a terrible experiment, but just for a bit of consistency there to take off the new ball. Marnus, he could be an early wicket at 2, and that would just really derail the innings. So I think the 11 probably is that. I think Constance will miss out, but just sceptical on what you boys think. If it's not Labuschagne, who would get it from that 11 at 1 or 2?
Yeah, it's a great point. Like, we think that'll be the 11, but whether or not it lines out that exact way. I know Andrew McDonald's already come out and said, with Cam Green and the versatility that he's shown, he's gotten runs all over the order. He's been batting at number 4 in county cricket of late, in the second division of county cricket there, hitting tons for fun at the moment. So, fortunately, he's coming into this after a long injury layoff in rapid form. We've got him at number 3. But, yeah, Max, are you confident Marnus is opening, or are you with Rando? Potential shake-up? How do you feel?
I think Marnus has to open in his team. And I think that your point's right, Rando, in the sense that he's probably going to be out there as a bit of a walking wicket. But I feel like any runs as an opener in these types of conditions are a bonus, which was the exact same argument I gave last week as to why I'd be picking Constas, because I think that his aggression, his adaptability, his ability to just do stuff that you don't expect could get you away to a little bit of a flyer and sort of change the complexion of the game. It's the reason why Travis Head's been so successful when he has opened in Indian conditions and Asian conditions. So I don't like it, but I think this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, he doesn't need to set the world alight, March. If he can go out there and just get a dirty, gritty 20-odd and
soak
face
up
off
time, blunt the ball.
Yeah.
You know, like you want your Travis Heads, your Bows and stuff going out
Runs
there
will come.
when the Duke's just a little bit quieter. Maybe the sun's come out, the clouds have disappeared, the pitch is flattened off. 15
to 20 overs just to take the shine off the Dukes. Marnus 20 will take it, like, mate. We don't need anything special from you.
Maybe he's picked for bowling. Maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we're not going to get any bowling out of camp.
Dirt on.
Could be his biggest strength at the moment. So alrighty, boys. Moving on from the World Test Championship final. Glenn Maxwell heading over to some white ball cricket, retiring from the white ball scene, 50 over I should say, still available in T20s for Australia. And his quote, speaking about his retirement, I felt like I was letting the team down a little bit with how my body was reacting to the conditions. I had a good chat with George Bailey and I asked him what his thoughts were going forward. We talked about the 2027 World Cup and I said to him, I don't think I'm going to make that. It's time to start planning for people in my position to have a crack at it and make the position their own. Hope they get enough of a lead in to hang on to that role. I always said I wasn't going to hand my position over if I felt like I was still going good enough to play. I didn't want to just hold on for a couple of series and almost play for selfish reasons. So I think first and foremost, it is a pretty selfless retirement because he probably could have held on and played and had a spot there for a bit more time regardless of form, but he thinks time is up. Maxie, he retires as a 2-time World Cup winner. 3,990 runs at an average of 33.81. He also took 77 wickets at 47.32. That was from 149 games. Probably his best stat in my eyes. The second fastest ODI strike rate ever at 126.7. Number one on that list is big Andre Russell at 130.22. That was in as third as many games as Maxie did his. And they're a mile ahead of the number 3 spot, which is basically joined by the Bermudan superstar Lionel Can.
One of the greats. Up there was John Simpson.
Real John Simpson vibes there. Heinrich Klaassen from South Africa, of course, and Shahid Afridi, well known for his explosive batting for the Pakistanis, all on about 117. So miles ahead there. I'll start with you, Maxie. From one Maxie to another Maxie. How will the other Maxie be remembered among the greats of our game?
I think he's going to be right up there. And I think when you think about Maxwell, you think about the highlights package, it's really without peer. Like, there are good players who have great moments, but Maxwell's great moments are greater than anyone else's. And there'll be a lot of dissection as to those moments in the coming weeks. To rattle off a few, the 201 not out against the Afghans in the World Cup final. It's probably tough to say he was on one leg because he was barely on one.
Generous.
He was more than like about a quarter. But there's not another player who's ever picked up a cricket bat who could have done what he did that day. Earlier in that same World Cup, he hit the fastest ODI century in a World Cup, and he finished on 106 from 40 deliveries against the Netherlands. And even in 2015, another World Cup win for Maxi and the Aussies, this time on home soil. He had his first century in any format. You know, some players are going to go out there, get nervous about trying to bring up 3 figures for Australia. He did it in like 52 deliveries. So when I think about him, you think about the highlights, and no one has consistently touched cricketing God like Glenn Maxwell has. I think when he was a guy, because he was contributed in all 3 formats, that he was always in the game. And because he was always in the game, it meant that you and your team were always a chance to win the game. And it's because not only did he do it in the field, how many boundaries this guy stopped, right, that seemed near impossible to anyone else. How many catches this guy took, which were superhuman. How many wickets he took with his bowling. How many tight overs he bowled of his off-spin. And it's even before you get to his batting. We're talking about a guy who has probably contributed to more wins on his own than any other player in Australian history with his ability to play all 3 formats. And I think the other thing when I think about Glenn Maxwell is that I don't think we're going to see another one. And I remember, if I take my time back to when I was working in cricket, there was a real, not a problem, but there was a real trend towards players coming into the game as professionals and really focusing on one area of their game. And these were guys who came through, stars in junior cricket. The batters all bowled, the bowlers all batted. When they got into the professional ranks, they were told to just focus and hone in on one thing. But his ability to consistently bowl at a high click, consistently bat at the highest level, and field like no one has realistically ever seen before, I don't think we're going to get another Glenn Maxwell. He is a huge loss, not only to Australian cricket, but to world cricket. He's been a joy to watch. And yeah, it's a really monumental day, I guess, in Australian white ball cricket.
Yeah, and you mentioned, alluding, Maxie, to that all-round status of Glenn Maxwell, to do it in all formats. Obviously, white ball was his specialty across his career, but it's like so many different areas. You mentioned how so many players are taught to hone in on being an opening batsman or a death bowler or whatever it might be. At any one part of his career, Maxie's probably been the best white ball opening bat in the world, or he's been the best finisher in white ball cricket in the world, or he's been certainly not the best bowler in the world, but a bloke who has opened the bowling for Australia, who's bowled at the death for Australia. We know what he's done, obviously, at BBL and that domestic level across the world in different competitions as well. But he's batted everywhere in the order to massive effect. He's bowled everywhere in the order. You would argue even that right now he's the best fielder in the world, or if not top 3 or top 5 at worst, if you want to call it. He's just can do it all. And even alluding to the stats of an average of 33.81, you go, all right, that's quite down on a lot of the best averages in the world. And I'll get to those shortly when we talk about Joe Root and his most recent feat. But so much of this has been Maxi coming in at number 7 or 8 with 2 overs to go and, getting caught at long on for 7 off 2 balls or something. It's like, it skews averages. So it's almost irrelevant, that average for Glenn Maxwell. Rando, what do you got on Maxi?
Yeah, a bit more on his average as well. I think some of the stuff that some people might take for granted is that his best averages were in the subcontinent, in Asia. He averaged 40 in Asia compared to 31 in Australia. And that 40 averaged in comparison to other Aussie white ballers, it's better than Ricky Ponting, better than Steve Smith. So he's still got a great average when he plays over there. And that's not just off 5 games he played in India. He's played 44 games over in the subcontinent. And that's why he's a massive hero and a cult hero in India. I don't know if you ever have the chance, check out the Howie Games. He does a great interview with Mark Howard about all that thing about going over to India, and he just can't leave his hotel because everyone loves Maxi over there. He is just what Brett Lee, I guess, is like over there too. So I think most of his best work has been done overseas, which is so tough for people in Australia who barely get to see all his good stuff. I mean, that knock in Afghanistan, if that was on Australian shores, people would be talking about it. There'll be murals and stuff. There'd be a statue outside the ground of that performance because it was absolutely ridiculous how he was just literally Undertaker on the ground and got up. I don't watch WWE, so if I got that completely wrong, fair enough. But just that sort of performance is just unheard of, that 201. He's the only non-opener to score a double hundred in ODI cricket, and I think that he deserves a lot more respect. Of course, he didn't crack it in Test match cricket, but what he's done in T20 and ODI, and as you mentioned, how he was able to change a game and win a game off his own bat compared to needing partnerships and stuff like that is unmatched.
And that's it, mate. You talk about the impact of him on the cricket field, but off the cricket field, obviously how big he was in India, but never has a nickname been more fitting than the Big Show because the bloke sold tickets.
Yeah.
People came to see Glenn Maxwell and what he could do with a cricket ball and with a bat in his hand. And what he's done for cricket in Australia and across the world for the best part of a decade and the rest, to be fair, just phenomenal. So we dearly missed. Boys, just quickly touching on Joe Root becoming the highest English UK ODI run scorer of all time. He knocked 166 not out of 139 balls against the West Indies in their second ODI. It was his 18th hundreds, passing Owen Morgan's tally of 7th, and he reached 7,000 runs in the process. I will note Owen Morgan actually on 7,700 because he's done it with Ireland and the English. But some numbers around Joe Root, stealing Rando's thunder here a little bit.
No need.
Yeah, all good, mate. I can do it too. 47th on the list of most ODI runs. I went, wow, that is a long way down the list. But when you dive into it a little more, he's played a lot less games than the blokes on the list. For context, he's played 179 one-dayers. Sachin Tendulkar, who's on first for the top run scorers, he's played 463 ODIs. He's actually averaging, Joe Root, 49.18, which is outstanding. There's only a handful of players who average more than him in white ball 50 over cricket. Virat Kohli, his 57.8 average. MS Dhoni's up there. AB de Villiers, 53.5. Hashim Amla and Kane Williamson all just slightly ahead of him. So remarkable from Joe Root, and I think there's more to come from him as well because he's a man in form. Boys, we turn our attention to the IPL final on tomorrow night. Virat Kohli's Royal Challengers against Ricky Ponting's Punjab Kings. Also Brad Haddon's Punjab Kings as well on the staff there. A big Aussie flavour to it, which I'm sure Max will get to shortly. Both of these franchises vying for their first IPL title. So a massive game with so much at stake. Josh Hazlewood's obviously featured for RCB. Stoinis and Inglis, they've come in and played roles for Punjab as well. Talking about Aussie flavour. Marco Jansen, South African, he's departed for the World Test Championship final, as mentioned earlier. What I want to talk to you about, Maxi, though, and the question I want to ask, what's at stake for the legacies of Virat Kohli and Ricky Ponting with a win or a loss in this one?
Mate, it's very big for both of them for very different reasons. So first and foremost, you look at RCB, 18 years, no titles, and Virat has been at the helm of this franchise for a hell of a long time. He's no longer the skipper, but he still remains the player with the most influence over this franchise, the shape. We spoke about it last week on the show. We spoke about it during the IPL preview as well. This team, they're the equivalent of the Melbourne Stars. They've been all flash and without the results to really back it up. This year, new squad, balanced squad, Aussies over there and Tim David to beef up their middle order and help them get the runs in chases as he does at a really high clip. And Josh Hazlewood as well, who's an absolute freak, completely underrated bowler in this format, is really helped to elevate them. So this is a chance for Kohli to get the monkey off the back for not only himself but this whole franchise and prove that they're no longer a punchline in this competition. Now, if you look across the fence over at Punjab Kings, these two teams finish 1 and 2 on the table. So it's a very fitting final. You've got Ponting's legacy as a head coach in the IPL, which I find really fascinating. And it does draw a lot of parallels to what he was able to do with the Hobart Hurricanes in the Big Bash this year. So at the Hurricanes, he's like a special advisor or some weird role that they just have to give to Ricky because he's Ricky. He was the head coach of the Delhi Capitals for 7 years. And he got that job with a lot of fanfare when he moved over there. Didn't necessarily get the results. And in the end, he lost a lot of power in the dressing room and within the owners of that squad. And he was sacked. He wasn't really going the direction that he wanted to go with the team, and he was moved on. Gets a job at Punjab, and in his first year, he's got the team into the final playing this type of cricket that Ricky Ponting wants to play. Now, he has been in charge of this direction of this franchise with a lot of backing from the owners since day one. That stretches right to the auction. They went hard going at Shreyas Iyer. He played with Ricky at Delhi, and he knew that not only was he getting a really, really good international quality batsman, but he was getting a leader. He was getting a type of guy who would believe in Ponting's vision and go with him. He has propped up that top order for them and won games off his bat consistently all year. He picked a heap of Aussies. He's got his mate Brad Haddon and James Hopes over there. Hopes, no coincidence, he's also an assistant coach down at the Hobart Hurricanes, a team who lifted the title in the Big Bash this year, finally delivering on this vision that Ponting's had for how they can go about doing it. So for him, this is an opportunity to really prove that he can be a world-class coach at the franchise level. Ricky doesn't need to coach. He's got all the money in the world coming from what he can do through broadcast. He's got great hair. But I think that it's a really great opportunity for him to, firstly, give a bit of an up yours to Delhi and say, mate, look what you do when you back me in. But it's also just a fantastic story to see the boy from Mowbray potentially take over and secure one of the biggest titles in world cricket.
There's so much at stake, obviously, for both franchises looking for that first title, but for both these men, as you said, it's almost Kohli looking for his first IPL title, and maybe not to like Australians in the casual observer, but Leo Messi chasing that first World Cup title with Argentina that he got, and he finally got that monkey off the back. It's like Kohli, I mean, football's a world game, but I mean, there's 2 billion in India 2 billion Indians in India who'll be sitting there going, give Kohli that elusive IPL title. Rando, are you team Ponting, or are you happy to see Virat get that title? And maybe a bit of Josh Hazlewood flavour too to back it up.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of Josh Hazlewood flavour too. A bit of winning success heading into the World Test Championship would be great. But no, I think, you know what, I was really pro Kohli until you gave that full speech about punter there. And now I'm like a bit confused now of where my loyalties lie. I think the script is written there for Kohli to get that championship. He's been the informed batsman for RCB. He scored the most runs this season of any other player playing in this final as well, averaging 55 per game. He's hit 8 50s in 14 innings as well. So I think this is Kohli's to be won, and hopefully they can get the job done. As we mentioned, Hazlewood's been in great form, averaging 15.8, 21 wickets in 11 games as well. He's been up on absolute fire. So I think this is the moment for them.
It's going to be an absolute blockbuster. Yeah, two of the most competitive people in world sport going at it in Ricky Ponting and Virat Kohli, and of course the host of stars underneath them as well. So going to be an absolute corker. Boys, part 2 of the show, World Team of the Week. The part of the show where we scan through all the best results from the world in cricket to come up with our World Team of the Week. From there, we give a 3-2-1 votes to go towards the race to the mace, with the winning players nation getting points to the overall total, wrapping up after the World Test Championship final in 1 week's time. We'll bring it all to a close. So Speaking of plenty on the line, heaps on the line in the race to the Mace, boys. This week we had a look at the week in the IPL, the England versus West Indies, ODIs and the Bangladesh versus Pakistan T20s. Maxi, over to you. We're looking for 2 opening batsmen.
No openers, mate. No openers in the series that I covered, which was looking at the international game. So I'm going to pass the new ball over to Rando.
Easy.
Beautiful. Well, Rohit Sharma, he kicked us off 81 off 50 for Mumbai Indians against Gujarat. In the same game, Sai Sudhasan, 80 off 49 balls for Gujarat against Mumbai. So those were the 2 picks from the IPL.
Absolutely right itself, doesn't it? Sudhasan
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rohit are our openers for the week. So a very easy one. What about 3 to 6, Maxi? Who have you found there? Hopefully a few middle order batsmen on your list.
Yeah, wham when it comes to the middle order batters.
It's catching on.
It's
catching on.
Kesey Carty from the West Indies, 103 and off 105 deliveries against England. He's probably never had his last name said like that before, but get used to it, mate, when you take on Australia. Joe Root, 166 off 139. That's probably going to be enough to see him in the team of the week. And Jacob Bethel as well, a guy that Big Bash fans would be familiar with, starting to really get his imprint in the international scene, despite having never scored a century in professional cricket, in like domestic and or internationals. 82 off 53 and 1 off 18, if you don't mind.
Beautiful. And we do have a couple of wicket keepers in here, so we'll come back to you before we announce the middle order and the wicket keepers, Maxi. But Rando, what about middle order bats for you?
For me, just the one, Shreyas Iyer, 87 not out off 41 balls for Punjab versus Mumbai. This guy's going to be the batsman to watch in the IPL final. So he started that very well there.
Sharma?
Oh, he was a wicketkeeper, mate.
Oh, he's in the wicket-keeping slot.
Yeah,
Jeez, we've got some wicket keepers in this
There's
team.
some wicket keepers
let's go to the wicket keepers, mate. I'll start with you because we've got some options and we've included them. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, absolute good week for the keepers. First one for me, Shai Hope, the West Indian, 78 off 66. Muhammad Harris for Pakistan versus Bangladesh. In a T20, this was amazing. 107 off only 46 deliveries. That was a big knock for him. And had to shout out Salman Aga as well from Pakistan, 56 off 33.
Rando?
For me, Risbah Pant, 118 not out off 97 balls for Lucknow against RCB. It looked to be enough after they set 227 to win. They also needed just 96 runs off 48 balls here, RCB, to win the game when Virat Kohli, their key man, got out. It spelled disaster. The win percentage for Lucknow went to 82%. Until Jitesh Sharma, the wicketkeeper on the other team, hit 85 off 33 balls. 85 of the 96 remaining runs to win the game. Absolutely crazy.
It's got Glenn Maxwell areas.
Absolute Maxi errors.
You boys put our team of the week together pre-show, had a bit of a debate there. Shai Hope snuck in ahead of Rishabh Pant.
Yeah,
crazy. This is Maxi. This is Maxi's call. So I
like Shai Hope. Had to get him in there just for the Hurricanes vibes and a little nod to Ricky.
There is a lot of Indian flavour to the team. So, but look, I'm not saying I agree with it, but Maxi's pulled rain here. So there you go. Our middle order said a few wicket keepers featuring, but Muhammad Harris, Joe Root, Jitesh Sharma, Shai Hope, Jacob Bethel slots in as an all-rounder. Maxi, what bowlers did you find this week?
I have got 4 for you, and they start with Alziri Joseph for West Indies. He got 4 for 31 against England. Adil Rashid in the same game, 4 for 63. Hassan Ali, really remarkable figures there for Pakistan versus Bangladesh, 5 for 30 off only 3.2 overs. And Shadab Khan, one of my favourite cricketers in the world, just doing his all-round thing. Had to fit him into the bowlers, though, because they were stacked this week in the middle order. But 48 off 25 deliveries and then 2 for 26 with his leg spin. So a very good knock from Shadab Khan.
Flying.
Brilliant. And it seems like it was a great week for blokes with the last name Sharma in the IPL. Because Suresh Sharma, 3 for 17 for RCB against Punjab. Probably the best of the bowlers. He did that in 4 overs. So a great economy rate of under 6.
Maxi takes the points in the bowlers this week. Shadab Khan, Alziri Joseph, Adil Rashid and Hassan Ali make up our team of the week. Now, fellas, our 3-2-1 voting. Maxi, who have you got?
A lot of nominations, but the top 3 were pretty clear to me. Number 1, I had Jitesh Sharma, 2 points to Muhammad Harris from Pakistan. And number 3, had to give it to a guy that I hope I don't have to give it to during the Ashes, but Joe Root.
Yeah, very fair. I think we've all got very similar here, but in different orders for the most part. Rando?
Yeah, we do. We have it all in all the different orders you could possibly have. I had 1 point for Harris, 2 points for Jess Sharma, and Joe Root just purely because it was just milestone after milestone, 166 runs, fifth fastest to 7,000 runs in ODI cricket. Got to give him the 3 points.
Little surprise to see Shy Hope not feature for Maxi this week.
Yeah,
but
very
maybe
interesting.
next
Backstabbed.
week. For myself, 1 vote to Mohammad Harris, 2 to Joe Root, and 3 votes to Jitesh Sharma, which means our 3-2-1 for the week. 1 vote overall to Mohammad Harris, 2 to Jitesh Sharma, and 3 to Joe Root and the English, which leaves our race for the Mace standings. India leading the way with 1 week to go on 27 overall. Australia on 24. South Africa into third on 13. New Zealand 12. England 12 from down there. Boys, that will do us for this week's show. As we said, that is our big preview for the World Test Championship final. We'll be back after the World Test Championship final to recap that big one. Maxi, thank you, mate, and enjoy this week ahead like I know you will.
You know I will, mate, and thank you to all the listeners as well.
Rando, thank you, mate.
Very keen. Long weekend into the World Test Championship. Can't wait for it.
Stop it. All right, guys, make sure as well, if you enjoy the content, if you watch it on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, give the video a like, do all those things to support the platform. You can also find us on our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, SC Playbook Cricket. So check that one out for all the content during the week. Cheers, guys.